Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. Maybe when we enter into year 6 of doing Soccer Down Here, John will realize the mic is hot and not be typing during the intro.
I thought I muted.
Maybe when we enter into year 6, John will understand the mute button. Maybe. Maybe. It's a good thing that Jarrett Smith was free this morning, because it was 4 years ago on this date that we started doing a daily live soccer show called Soccer Down Here. Jarrett, that's kind of wacky. I don't know. I don't know. It was a really crazy idea, and we're about to start year 5 of it.
That's the last time I meet you for pizza.
Seriously, I had a crazy idea, and we're still doing it going into year 5.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. Look, there's a ton of stuff to get into, and we have an hour this morning, so we're going to bounce around. Just wanted to say thanks to all of you who have listened for one day or for 4 years, and we're not going anywhere. We got another whole year of coverage and craziness and adding things, and we will keep doing more and more as we can. So thanks for allowing us to do it, and thanks for listening, because we can't do it if nobody's listening. It becomes a little pointless, and thankfully it's not, because people respond to us and tell us that occasionally we're entertaining. So we try. We do our best. But thanks for listening. We really, really appreciate it. All right. Lots of things this morning that we've got to jump into. We've got to talk Copa Sudamericana final. That's at 3 o'clock today. You can watch on BN Sport and on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here is our affiliate link. If you're not a subscriber, you can get a free 7-day trial. You can also sign up as a subscriber. That's where you can watch Defensa y Justicia and Lanús. Talk about that just a little bit later. Bonkers game in the Bundesliga right now, as you are in the 35th minute and Leipzig and Mainz are 2-2, just back and forth and back and forth. Tyler Adams scored his first Bundesliga goal to open the scoring, and then everybody else decides to score. The FA Cup will have a new champion in 2021. Arsenal was eliminated this morning by Southampton on an own goal, and the own goal from Gabriel was the first goal Arsenal have conceded since Boxing Day. 508 minutes. You're making silly faces, John.
So where
That's
are we
really
on the
good.
Arteta out stage?
Yeah.
I would hope not,
out?
because that would be
Monitor.
completely idiotically stupid.
Yeah.
508
Which
minutes.
is English as hell.
It can be, yes. I think Arsenal has moved on from that. 508 minutes, 5 games without conceding. Arsenal's fine, although they were eliminated here. They are out of the FA Cup. There's more FA Cup this weekend. There is Bundesliga going on right now. There is La Liga coming up. Real Madrid plays at 3 o'clock. No Zinedine Zidane, as he has tested positive for COVID. Bundesliga, you've got Hertha playing at 12:30, but a bunch of games now and a bunch of goals all over Germany. This game's 2-2 with Leipzig and Mainz. Eintracht Frankfurt is 3-0 up on Arminia Bielefeld in the 36th minute. Leverkusen is losing at home to Wolfsburg 1-0. Augsburg and Union Berlin are 1-1. Freiburg and Stuttgart are 1-1, 37th minute. Also 1-1 in Italy. Roma and Spezia in the second half. Roma is trying to get things back on track. Only goal in the 10 o'clock kicks in England is West Ham 1-0 over Doncaster Rovers in the FA Cup. Manchester City goes to Cheltenham Town at 12:30. Pep Guardiola is on our list of things to talk about as well today. He had some interesting comments. But, Jarrett, let's start with the rumors, because one of your guys pops up into the rumors. Edouard, who probably should have been sold a while back from Celtic. Leicester City.
Yeah, it probably should have been last summer.
Yeah, Leicester City, Brendan Rodgers. Potentially.
Rodgers brought him in originally, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Talk Sport.
Edouard's really... Go ahead, sorry.
Talk Sport saying that they are looking at making a move for the long-term replacement for Jamie Vardy in Edouard, probably this summer.
Yeah, Edouard is just that dude that when he's on and he gets in front of goal, it's pretty much lights out. Just he has that same. I don't want to compare it straight away because it's not the same guy. He has that similar gene that Joseph has in Atlanta, where once he's in front of goal, everything slows down for him, and he's fine taking an extra touch or two, and it's all under control, and it's very pretty when it's on. It hasn't been on a lot this year, but that I think has more to do with Celtic being Celtic in 2020 than it does with Edouard, because whenever he gets away from them and goes to the French U21 team or whatever, or U22 team, he like pops 2 goals a game. Like, it's not a big deal. But very good striker, very good he fits what Rodgers wants to do, very good at dropping back. And frankly, in some instances, like when he wants to drop back, almost plays like a pseudo 10, if you want to call it that. I think he'd be a great fit at Leicester. I think he'd be a great fit under Rodgers. He thrived under Brendan Rodgers because they brought him in to replace Moussa Dembele, who is now going to Atletico Madrid. Because Brendan Rodgers, if nothing else, he loves young French strikers. But he came in and he did really well, and he's been doing well. And the partnership he had with Lee Griffiths was lethal for a while. And I think he will do fine in England. He's strong enough. He is certainly like savvy enough on the ball and off the ball, can combine. And I think he fits more what Rodgers wants to do than what Lennon wants to do. But Lennon doesn't know what he wants to do, so that's kind of hard to say.
Yes, Neil Lennon doesn't know many things.
And also, Leicester City might be able to get him for a song compared to what they would have had to pay last summer.
Right.
Celtic's doing the same thing right now that Rangers did with Alfredo Morelos last year, where they missed the window to sell him at his peak. And Morelos is rebuilding his value right now. He's played pretty well for Rangers this year since coming back into the team. But I don't know if he'll rebuild his value to what it was when he was like dragging them through Europa League and in a very impressive fashion. In the same way that I don't know that Celtic will be able to rebuild Edouard's value to what it was when they should have sold him. So Leicester might be able to get a good deal on it too.
Yeah, probably the right time to try to get that done, and you need to start thinking long-term strategy. Speaking of Rangers, they are up 1-0 on Ross County in the Scottish Premiership. Aberdeen scoreless hosting Motherwell. Rangers, maybe the stat of the day.
Get us out.
Well, hold on. Maybe the stat of the day on Rangers is they are the best defensive team in UEFA's top 30 ranked leagues. 0.29 goals allowed this season per game. Unbeaten in 24. They're trying to become the 4th team to go unbeaten in the Scottish top flight, and they are leading this morning. So, all right, other players being mentioned in silly season. The big names are getting mentioned right about now. Kylian Mbappe. He talked yesterday after PSG's win. He is prepared to commit his long-term future to PSG. It's been back and forth. He's been fairly positive about it. He says he wants to stay. His contract's up at the end of 22. Of course, Real Madrid is waiting to see if they could get him. Others will be waiting as well. But he's saying he wants to sign a new deal. That could be difficult because PSG's financial situation is not good. Like everybody's financial situation is not good. I don't know if he would find a lot of money elsewhere because nobody's financial situation is very good right now. If he waits it out and really plays a little bit of hardball, maybe he could get a better deal in 22 if he wants to let that contract run. We'll have to see. Mo Salah, interesting one out of Eurosport today. Liverpool are going to prioritize a new deal for Virgil van Dijk, 29 years old, Dutch center back, we know, very good, injured right now. They're going to prioritize him over the talks for a new deal for Mo Salah. Now, Mo's been a little vocal. Mo's been maybe a little pouty. Mo's talked about Spanish clubs and how they're very nice. I don't think this is going to help the attitude of Mo Salah. John?
No, I don't think if you take the poutiness and all of the quotes, whether they're from him or someone who is speaking on his behalf, I don't think that this will sit well with the Camp Salah. So I guess as the Salah turns, search for Salah, Salah's Hope, one of those soap operas, Days of Our Salah, something like that. Days of Our Red.
What'd you do?
It's a saga, and it will continue to saga. So
I don't like the look of it.
No, not if you're a Liverpool fan. It's probably going to get more vocal and a little more pointed in the sound bites, maybe a little uglier, but interesting. But yeah, now what does Salah do?
Oh, he leaves when he gets the first chance.
Yeah.
He leaves. If you're prioritizing other players, he's gonna want to go. Paul Pogba, who Mino Raiola, his agent, was very vocal in trashing Manchester United where he's played. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been very clear in backing his player in Paul Pogba and saying he's been nothing but professional and he's been coming up big in big moments. Now, according to the Daily Mail, Manchester United and Pogba will delay a decision over the player's future at the club until the end of the season. I don't think he's going to go anywhere in January, but could he potentially stay long-term? Now, again, the market's going to be very different than people would have thought it would have been a year ago. So, would you rather stay where you're at and make good money than go out and try to get on the market that maybe there's not a lot of money in the market at the moment? Maybe there's not a lot of money in the transfers to sell a player like Pogba. I would not be blown away if he stays and Raiola has to eat his words.
Yep.
Rafael Varane at Real Madrid, 27-year-old French center back, wants to leave, according to Sport, which is the Barcelona paper in Spain, and this is Real Madrid, so take that with a grain of salt. But if Varane becomes available on the market, there's quite a few teams who are looking for center backs. That would be a very interesting one. Speaking of Spain, Papu Gomez, who we've been waiting to see where he would end up, it's looking more and more like he's going to go to Sevilla. I'd start with a move on loan. Obligation to buy is what some are reporting, €8 million in the summer. So loan for the rest of the season, €8 million obligated purchase in the summer. Monchi, the sporting director at Sevilla, is negotiating with Atalanta. Gomez wanted to stay in Italy, but Atalanta's not going to sell him to an Italian club that would be a rival of theirs. He doesn't want to go to a lower tier club in the bottom half of the first division, so he's got to go elsewhere. Sevilla seems to be the one that everybody is leaning towards on the rumor front. There were other rumors out there. Cincinnati, MLS in general. He wants to stay in Europe. Wanted to stay in Italy, but hey, Seville's not too bad if you got to leave Italy. Go to Sevilla. It's not a ton of money. J-Dub says Sevilla has money. It's not a ton. I mean, €8 million. You can probably make that work. They'll probably have to sell somebody in the summer too, but you're pushing it down the road on that obligated buy. There were a bunch of rumors today too about Real Madrid and Inter on a deal. Hakimi, who it was, I think, a €40 million deal is what it was supposed to be, and paid in installments. And Inter couldn't make the first installment, and there was a report in Italy that Real Madrid was furious, and they were going to try to get the player back, and all these things. And then Real Madrid had to actually issue a statement to say, "Nah, that's totally bogus. That is the epitome of fake news." That is what Real Madrid basically said when they're having to respond to an Italian report to say, "No, we're good with Inter. Everything is fine. Shut up." That's silly season for you.
Yeah.
Couple others. Timothy Weah was linked with a loan move to Brest, which is a Ligue 1 side. That was turned down. That was denied. So he is going to stay at Lille. He needs to play. He just needs to play. And if he's not going to play, he needs to go elsewhere. But Lille doesn't want to let him go, and we're stuck. Facundo Pellistri, the Uruguayan signing at Manchester United. 19 years old, not playing, wasn't going to play. Talk about him going out on loan. He needs to. He needs to go out on loan. Please, send him out on loan. A couple others from South America. Marcos Rojo is expected to go to Boca Juniors any day now. 3-year deal from Manchester United. Yes, he's still on the books at Manchester United. But he is expected to get the deal done to go to Boca and sign a new 3-year contract. Gonzalo Montiel, the River Plate right back, who's worth around $8.5 million according to Lyon. It looks like that deal's going to get done. River would keep 20% of the pass. They're waiting on the offer to come from Lyon, but it has been negotiated. That's a big one. Radamel Falcao stupid rumors keep continuing for Radamel Falcao. The dumbest of the stupid rumors that is out there on Falcao. John, you're looking at me like you haven't read the rundown. You have. And why would you think it's a smart rumor that Nashville would be linked to Falcao?
No, it's just
That's hideous.
It is, absolutely.
That is a rumor person out there with an unnamed account, anonymous account, who probably has like 500 followers, and started the account 3 weeks ago, taking a dartboard out and throwing a dart to see where it lands on an MLS team because, MLS is a retirement league. Except it's not.
No.
MLS, out of the major leagues in Europe and honestly in the world, was a really good rundown that I saw today. Average age of players in MLS, younger by about 2 years than La Liga, younger than the Premier League, younger than the Argentine First Division, younger than most leagues, around 25. It's not a retirement league anymore. We can stop the stupid random rumors of Falcao to Austin. He's going to Austin now. Portland couldn't get it done.
Well, no, it's going to be a deal with Falcao and Andres Guardado. Both going to be going.
Yes. Andres Guardado, he's coming to Charlotte. Except he said, no, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to Charlotte.
Well, they're both. It's going to be like 2028 when MLS starts their new franchise in Hoboken, New Jersey, and Andres Guardado is going to be like just coming off of like a hip replacement, and he will be linked to that move.
Andres Guardado and Falcao will be linked to moves to MLS for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly sad. So, no, I don't see Radamel Falcao going to Nashville.
Well, Guardado's going to become a manager, and then it's just going to start an entire news cycle of he's going to come manage in MLS now.
Yeah, it's absurd. Okay, you mentioned managers. There's a couple names. Mentioned Gallardo earlier. Marcelo Gallardo now, rumors in Sport in Barcelona. That is the paper in Barcelona. He could be talked about as the Barcelona manager again down the road. He could be. Xavi is a big fan of Marcelo Gallardo's work. He could be the sporting director. That is what Victor Font has said. I don't think Joan Laporta has necessarily went that strong with bringing Xavi back into the club, but I don't think he's against it in any way. If Xavi becomes the sporting director, Gallardo could be his hire as the manager if things continue to be meh with Ronald Koeman. I mean, look, Koeman doesn't have the best of squads. I don't know if it's fair, all of the criticism that he's getting, but I feel like maybe he could get a little more out of what he's got. He's in a tough spot. I don't think it radically changes next year. You might want to go get a Gallardo who could build something. It feels like Koeman's not building anything. The other managerial name that has popped up is Rafa Benitez, and news came out this morning early that he has ended his contract with Dalian in China. He's looking for his next job. He decided to stay with his family in the northwest of England during the lockdown. I think some of the headlines were, COVID fears mean Rafa quits. I don't think it was, and kind of implying it was on the China side. Like, I got it as he wanted to stay with his family in the UK. He didn't want to be away from them during the lockdown. It's good terms, according to the Mirror. They're talking about a severance package, what that looks like. He left on good terms. He's working with the club on who will replace him. But that's a new name coming back into the English media, and you talk about rumors.
Hello, Chelsea. How are you doing?
No. Seriously? Like, that's the one that I don't get.
I want to burn things down, okay?
I've even seen Newcastle as a part of this.
But that doesn't feel realistic either. Like, why would he go back to Newcastle after having a falling out with Mike Ashley? I mean, let's be real here and not just say, like, oh, Chelsea, Newcastle. Like, why would he go to Newcastle? Why would he go to Chelsea? Chelsea's not going to come after him. I wouldn't think.
And Newcastle to me makes absolutely less than 0 sense.
You said it.
But I'm saying that's what the two teams were. It's like, oh, now that he's going back to England, Chelsea and Newcastle, everybody, here comes Rafa.
Okay, that's a good spin.
I mean, if he wants to become like
I didn't start it.
Fun,
You did.
If he wants to become like a more fun mercenary Big Sam style, I'm fine with that. He can just float around and, that team's in a relegation battle, bring me in.
Nah, he's better than that. That's the weird thing about Rafa is...
Oh, he's better than that, but if he wants to become that, I'll be entertained.
But, no, this is the thing, and this is, I think, where you have to be clear about this. He's better than that. I mean, he is not the most wide open of managers. Let's not get it twisted. But he is not Big Sam, Alan Pardew, Mick McCarthy. He's not there. But he's not Chelsea level either anymore, I don't think. Like, he's in between the two. You know, it doesn't make sense. Like, I would never see him as a realistic, like, okay, Chelsea's talking about Tuchel, Allegri, and Rafa? It doesn't feel like he's in that class now. But he's way ahead of the Big Sam group, too. So he's in that weird middle ground. Like, there's not really a gig that's the right spot for him at the moment, unless, Jarrett, your Celtic wanted to fire Neil Lennon and hire him.
There's a team in Glasgow who needs a manager this summer.
That's what I'm saying.
Needs an entire rehabilitation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are you going to start that train, Jarrett?
I'm fine with that train if it means that he's going to, like, gut punch Scott Brown on the way out the door.
Yeah, that would be a good one. He would bring some class to the job, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, anything at this point is an upgrade. Like Log from the Ren and Stimpy show is an upgrade at Celtic right now.
Yeah, but let's try to actually shoot for something a little bit better than that. Rafa would be
interesting.
Rafa would be a really. I mean, that's the right spot. I think that's the kind of spot that makes a lot of sense.
And I think I'd be curious to see if it fits with what they do. Like, you had Lennon before, then you took a chance when he left, and you took a chance on Ronnie Dyla, who was not a household name by any stretch of the imagination. You brought him in, didn't really, it worked to an extent, but not as well as you wanted it to. So then you decided, we got to make a splash. Brendan Rodgers just came free. We'll bring Brendan Rodgers up here. Brendan Rodgers sharpens his axe in Glasgow, then takes it down to Leicester. And then you go back to Lennon because it's what's comfortable. Now, how far out of your wheelhouse are you going to go with this next hire? Are you going to, go way out there on a limb and try and find somebody small again who's going to come and try and revolutionize the game again and kind of try and drag your ass into the 21st century? Do you go with a big hire and a known name? If it's another club legend, I might actually just fly over to Glasgow and just start throwing eggs at things.
Who would you rather have, Jarrett, for Celtic? I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you rather have Rafa Benitez or Jim Curtin?
Ooh.
Oh, my God. Give me Jim Curtin tomorrow morning. But I'm also of the mindset that Jim Curtin is the future U.S. national team manager, so there's that.
Could be, but he could keep working in the club game, and I think he does want to go to Europe.
So here's a weird thing about I'd be curious about how Rafa would do, because in Scotland, if you're a part of the old firm, 98% of the games you play are going to be teams playing with a 5-man back line or, a 4-4-1-1 kind of look. Like, they're not going to open the doors and play a wide open game with you, most likely. Rangers will, to an extent, but even then, Gerrard likes to sit a little bit deeper and hit you on the counter. Like, it's not a bunker. It is a legitimate game plan. But he wants to stretch you out and then gut you like a fish. I mean, you kind of need a manager who's going to play on the front foot and play an attacking style. You don't want to, God forbid, you don't want like a Big Sam, of course. I know that's not realistic and it's hyperbole, but you don't want that. So I'm curious how Rafa would do when he doesn't open it up a ton. I mean, he would class the joint up. I think they would play. It'd be fun. Anything would be better than what it is. Dude, I would take Jim Curtin tomorrow morning in a heartbeat.
It'd be interesting to see them take a chance again on somebody, but actually look.
Stephen Glass is out there too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably more experience there that'd be needed for the Celtic job. But there's other Scottish clubs that could be hiring as
Stephen
well, and one of
Glass
them is
at
a club.
Aberdeen or
Yes.
either of the Dundee clubs.
Well, one of the clubs that could be hiring at the end of the season is a club that Stephen Glass starred at Aberdeen, because it's not really going all that well either there. So that might be
because when they
step.
miss out on second place because Darren McGuinness cannot win games when Celtic is a hot mess, and Hibs doesn't Hibs their way into second, making second place, they're going to fire McGuinness and run him out on a rail.
Yeah. I from what I have seen of Aberdeen since I've paid closer attention to them, it's just not good enough in the dugout. It's just not getting there. I feel like they have more talent than they're getting results. We'll see where it falls.
He's good at developing that talent, but he's not. But it feels like a very Larry Drew kind of thing when he was with the Hawks. Of this is a guy who's going to get your young guys up to where they need to be professionals. But there is a limit, and you're not getting over that limit with this guy.
Yeah, it feels like there is a pretty thick concrete wall that stops them from going any further.
So here's what McGuinness said leading into this weekend. He said, Daily Record, I understand criticism, I really do. Every week there is criticism of every manager, but I believe I work for a board who recognize what we've done in our time here and are grateful for the consistency we've shown and continue to show. Do we want better? Of course. Results like Saturday have been, by and large, very rare. Last Saturday when they got blown out. But we do deserve criticism for the result, no doubt. It was a horrible day and a poor performance, but we're not a poor team. If we win our games in hand, we're in third spot, and we're in and around Livingston and Hibs, who have had plenty of plaudits this season. We're judged on previous campaigns, and I believe we will show our strength between now and the end of the season.
He's right. I mean,
Livingston are no joke right now. And God, can't Neil Lennon release a statement like that? Jesus.
No, because he doesn't have really any class.
I know.
McInnes is completely correct, but you're at a point now with his time there where you've got to surpass where you've been. And what he's saying is true. Like, he's right. But you still want more. Like, it's been good. It hasn't progressed past that. This is a year where you need something a little bit more. If it's not there, it's not there. Got to make the move.
There's also the fact that I think and I wonder if this is the summer where you're selling a Lewis Ferguson. You're cashing in on some of these young guys. And this might be, it might be next year you got to kind of rebuild some guys a bit. This might be a chance for you to get that second spot and get a shot to play in qualifying games for damn Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of letting it slip away a little bit here.
Yeah.
Celtic hasn't won a game since the last president of the United States was in office.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a mess. And we'll see where Scotland goes. Let's get into some other things on the list. Pep Guardiola talked ahead of the FA Cup match that they played today. And he said something that got some people a little riled up. He said there need to be fewer teams in the Premier League. From Reuters, he said, I have the feeling that we cannot lose what local leagues mean, what it means to play the FA Cup, what it means to play in the leagues. What we should do is make every league in Europe stronger than what it is. Less teams, better championships, better League One, better League Two, better Premier League with less teams in every competition. Go to quality over quantity. You have to make a super Premier League. For that, you have to reduce teams. But we can't kill lower divisions or the Premier League. That's something that is so important. It's not about other benefits. It's about how important sentimentally it is having your own league for every country. So Pep sounds like he's not a fan of the European Super League, first off, which is good, I think. What would be the magic number for you? I mean, for people who don't know the whole pyramid in England, let's lay it out real quick so people understand it. And every league's a little different. The Bundesliga is one that is a little bit smaller. It's 18 rather than 20. The Premier League's 20. The Championship is 24, which is just too much.
Yeah,
it's too much. It's too bloated. League One is 24. Again, same thing. It is bloated. It is too much. League Two is also 24, which is absurd.
Yeah.
you do not. I'll start from the back. 24 teams in Division 4, 3, and 2 is way too much.
Yep.
20 at the most is what it should be.
Yeah.
Does that...
You don't go like Scotland to do 12 in the top flight? Because that's when it gets wild.
Yeah, and I don't know if Pep's going to that degree. Scotland has 12. Austria has 12. Bundesliga has 18. I want to say there's at least some that have 16, which would give you a 30-game normal
right
season. Yeah, 16's not bad. I mean, here's the thing you got to put alongside of this that Pep wasn't talking about. We've talked about the Champions League. You're going to have one or the other. You're going to have an expanded Champions League, or you're going to have a European Super League. The big clubs are going to want to make more money because because they flat out can. They're not going to turn that down. The horse is out of the barn on this. Something is going to change. Colin says, what happened to FIFA mandate from the 2000s for leagues to have 20 teams max? Germany tore it up in their face, I guess. I don't know. Because Germany's doing it too. They're going 18. Well, I guess they're going smaller. Maybe you don't have to have 20. I don't know. England's tearing it up in their face. It's absurd. FIFA's forbid the European Super League Captain Ragamuffin until they get a cut of the money. Then they'll allow it. It's going to be one or the other, and I think it's going to end up as a hybrid, but an expanded Champions League is the most important part. You're going to play more Champions League games. You can't keep adding club games to the calendar. You're going to max out here at some point where players can't keep playing in all these games, and managers are not going to rotate their squads enough, so this is what you're stuck with. Would you be better off going at the Premier League level? 16 teams. That's dropping 4. I mean, that's a big change. The lower divisions dropping teams, I get. I mean, if that means you have a 5th division, you have a League 3, that's fine. If that's the way you divide it up, so nobody's losing money from it, but you're dividing it up from a competition standpoint into more leagues, I'm good with that. Fine with this. But if you looked at the Premier League and you took the bottom 4 out right now, you're taking Brighton, Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United out. Burnley, Newcastle would be your bottom 2 teams. Now, it would create more opportunities for these other games. I also think as part of this, UEFA needs to mandate getting rid of league cups.
Yeah.
1 cup competition in each country. That's going to open up more space. And that's going to allow them to have a broader Champions League campaign. And if that means a broader Europa League campaign and a broader UEFA conference, whatever, blah, 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 gummy bear, UEFA tournament, fine. More international games versus more domestic. If there's more money in it, that's what's going to happen.
Here's my question to that, because I don't disagree with a lot of it, but who wants to be the one to tell the Fulhams of the world, hey, we're taking it down to 16 teams, and you picked the wrong year to finish, 4th from the bottom instead of 2nd or 3rd from the bottom.
So don't do it because
Premier League money.
So don't make the right change for everybody because Fulham or West Brom's feelings might get hurt.
No, I think it's something you got to consider, and you don't just make this decision lightly. I think you make it, 3-4 years in advance.
Yeah,
easy,
it has
if
to be
not
a
more.
transitional thing.
You have to give them time to say, hey, in 3-4 years' time, we're going to take those bottom 4 and drop them. So if you're in the bottom 4, then, tough luck. This isn't something you say. I don't think you say, hey, in a year's time, we're going to take the bottom 4. You got to give it time, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you punish everybody else for their feelings. I'm saying you give them time to say, here's what's going to happen. Yeah. You have no excuses.
No, you create a roadmap. I mean, that was the plan in Argentina before they tore up the roadmap, because that's what they do. When they overexpanded the first division to 30 because they didn't want to have another River Plate getting relegated to the second division again. So they expanded it, Then they're like, well, this doesn't work either because this is too much for the way we structure our tournaments because it's absolute chaos with 20 teams, let alone 30. So then they started creating that roadmap of, okay, this year you're going to have 3 teams get relegated and only 2 get promoted. This year you're going to do that. You did that over time, and then they threw it out with the pandemic, which ultimately is probably the right call to not relegate people right now. Okay. Couple things that have come up from this. Alex Passine says, so what do you do with all these local teams? It's not like MLS. Seems like one ends up picking sides winners and shutting out the small fries. Not that they are all financially stable anyway, but unless you're going to have 10 tiers. I think what you do is you don't change the way the business side of it is structured, especially in England. And we'll start with that. I heard, I think it was on the Chorley game yesterday in FA Cup, one of the commentators said that maybe the Premier League isn't the best league in the world. It's in the conversation, but he said the English pyramid is the best because of situations like this with Chorley, making a run. It's not crazy. It's not crazy.
I think you're a prisoner of the. I think you're a prisoner of the moment.
Well, it's an English commentator, but I mean, it's not crazy. Like that's not absurd to say. So let's start with England. I mean, you've got 20 in the first. You've got 24, 24, 24. It's too much. Yeah. Create a 5th tier. If you went 16, 20, 20, 16, 20, 20, 20.
You'd have those 16 teams in that 5th element.
So then you add 4 more from the conference, and you go 20 there.
Because they've got 23 right now in the National League.
Right. I don't care about what they have right now for all the different reasons. I mean, you got teams that are folding. You got teams that are getting wound up. You got all kinds of stuff. In general, the lower divisions I'm not even touching right now because that all needs to be as regional as possible. And if that means one league's got 12 and one league's got 8 and one league's got 16, then fine. That needs to be regional. I would try, Alex, to do everything possible to protect the financial interests of all the clubs. But if you add another division in to the teams that are in the Football League, for example, in England, I think it creates better competition. We talk about those teams that are between levels a lot, and we generally are talking about them between the Premier League and the Championship, but it happens at all levels where you have a yo-yo team. That's just who they are. Norwich is the prime yo-yo team because they understand who they are. They don't overspend when they get that opportunity to go up and then not be in a position to go back up and ruin themselves financially. They don't do that. So they're going to drop down because they're not good enough to stay in the Premier League. They're not big enough. But they're going to be one of the best teams in the Championship and generally win their way back. So in this scenario, they would have more competition in the second division level because you'd be dropping the bottom teams. Now, I think they can play with all of them. I think they'd probably be about in the same position. But it'd be more competition. I think it'd be better competition.
Yeah.
I think you strengthen it that way more than you hurt it, as long as everybody's protected financially. Because you're not dividing it by more teams, really. In England, if we want to make it even, unless we wanted to do 16, 18, and then 20 and 20, and that gets you 18, I think, in the bottom. Maybe you tier it differently. Whatever. You can adjust. Same number of teams, pretty much. Maybe you're adding 4 teams to balance it out. Maybe you're adding 2 teams to balance it out. Same amount of things, just the competition is divided further. I think that would work. That's the balance you do have to strike. The lower tier teams, I mean, they're not in the conversation anyway. Chorley and teams like that, they're not in this mix. If they make a run in the FA Cup, they're going to make some money out of that. That's why you need to protect those cup competitions. That's big. That's why you don't need to have a Gummy Bear Cup. Have a FA Cup that is a big deal rather than teams saying, well, like Arsenal today, we're going to field a very low-tier lineup in this because we've got all these games and we've got all this stuff to deal with. Have one cup that's actually more meaningful.
No, I think that if you were to add that 5th division, you drop the 4 at the bottom of the Prem, if you put them in the Championship, and you just drop 4, drop 4, drop 4, I think that if you looked at those teams in each of those new divisions, I think that you would have stronger competition across the board. I think it'd be beneficial So that way, I think it'd just be beneficial to the sport in England if you did that, just because the level of competition would increase and you wouldn't have such a disparity from the top and the bottom in each of the leagues that are there right now.
Question from Turner Kirby. Would you have to do much larger parachute payments for that first drop down for teams to agree? You might have to scale stuff a little bit. I mean, maybe you extend it over a period of time. If there's money to be divided up, you can find a way to do it. And I would imagine they would figure that out. But it will be a process to do something like this. Ragamuffin says you can also expand the Europa and the conference tournaments in UEFA. Like Fulham may drop to the championship, but they could still play in Europe, depending on cup placements and stuff like that. Yeah, you could. And Abby says this, and I actually kind of agree. It's fun being a yo-yo team, up and down, up and down. Now, she's talking about the actual yo-yo, but I think if I am a fan, I would enjoy the fan experience of a Norwich far more than I would of a Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace has 0 to play for every season.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally too good to even be in a relegation scrap, but they're not good enough to compete for European spots. They are what they are. What are you looking forward to in a season? Maybe an upset win here and there, maybe a rivalry win. You're not going to be in a race for anything. Bleh. Norwich is going to have title races in the championship, and then they're going to have that relegation scrap the other way. They're going to have drama.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be more of a fun fan experience.
Yeah, I mean, you look.
Yeah, it has a very similar feel. It has a very similar feel to like with Crystal Palace, what the Hawks were for a long time. Of just you're not good enough to get down where you can rebuild with a superstar, but you're not bad enough for that, but you're not good enough to win titles.
You're an 8 seed or a 9.
Yeah, at that you're not going to get anybody who's going to change your franchise. You're just going to kind of float along with what you got. I'm with you. I'd rather be. Like being a Norwich fan seems like it's fun. Also, they generally play a fun style. Like it's not unenjoyable to watch.
They have a commitment to playing the right way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, which looking at some of these teams that are not in relegation, but are like they can look over the edge of the bed and the relegation monster's kind of chilling out there at the foot of the bed.
The relegation anxiety closet.
Yeah, like those are the ones like, you're not really a lot of fun to watch because you're just trying not to get eaten alive here. And yeah, there's something to be said for, hey, we're going to come up to Champions League and play our game. You're going to die. That's fine. We're going to have fun for 34 weeks though. And then we're going to go down, we're going to basically do this again and then come up and do it again. And that's fine. We'll get some money. We'll strengthen our coffers, maybe sell a couple guys. It's not a bad life.
Rangers are up 3-0 in the first half. Jared?
It's funny you mentioned them. I would take that life for Celtic and Rangers if they merged down to England and they became a yo-yo team.
You'd rather have that than be what they are in Scotland?
It'd be more enjoyable to watch, I think.
Okay.
If it meant that they were a yo-yo team, but were playing fun styles, and well, they're probably going to win championship. They'll go up to Premier League, probably lose games, but they'll play fun styles. Maybe take a couple scalps here and there. Maybe make a run or two in the FA Cup. Get a get a shot in the Europa League somehow. I don't know. Like depending on how the expanded international cup competitions happen. I mean, it does get. I mean, I'll tell you, man, it does get kind of old. Like when you're just like, it's going to be Rangers or Celtic, and it's a bad run of form. Well, we're not necessarily losing games. We're just playing these miserable draws out. I think it would be interesting to be a yo-yo team and to be about developing talent, playing a fun style, and taking a couple scalps here and there. Maybe you take your beatings because you're not going to compete financially with the big boys. Maybe you stay up 1 year longer than you're expected to. Who knows? There are worse fates in life than that as a fan.
It's true. It's true. I would be fascinated to see where Celtic and Rangers would settle in the English pyramid because I really don't know.
I think in the championship.
Championship?
I think so. Some people seem to really get offended if you say that.
Anytime we have this conversation, I feel like people forget the fact that a lot of teams in England, I mean, when you get to the higher end championship teams, like you're spending more money. on average than your Celtic and Rangers are. Certainly more than the rest of Scotland is.
Yeah.
I think they could settle into the championship once they get that money, and once they get their feet. It may take them a couple of years. I don't think they would shoot straight to championship right away. I think they would have to the same way with Rangers. When Rangers ceased to exist and rebuilt, it took them a while to get back. It wasn't like we'll be back in 3 years. No, It took a while because you were rebuilding. I mean, when you're entering a new arena with new tools, new weapons, it's going to take you a while. That's fine. It might take them a couple of years to get their feet, but I think they could settle into championship, maybe middle of the table kind of thing, and then see where it goes from there.
All right, a couple other things as we get to the final 15 minutes or so. Jordan Morris is officially a member of Swansea City. John is excited, I think.
Woohoo!
So you like Mindy Kaling these days?
That and the possibility of Paul Areola. You bet your sweet Bippy.
All right. Well, that's good, I guess. And you said sweet Bippy.
My mother used to say that. I knew exactly what he meant by it.
Oh, no, I know what it meant. I just haven't heard it in probably 25 years. Garth Lagerway said, we felt like it was a really good situation where Jordan was going to another familiar setup and one where we could keep really close tabs on him. Now, there is a buy option at the conclusion of the loan. It's a 6-month loan. It's believed to be around $7 million as the buy option. That would be by far the biggest transfer fee Seattle's ever received. They've never played that game. Seattle has spent money over the years, but they've never bought players with the idea of selling them. They've never done it. $7 million would be incredibly huge for Seattle in terms of their transfer history. Now, something Lagerway said that I thought was interesting. Remember, Jordan Morris coming out of college was linked to Werder Bremen, and a lot of people were very angry at Jordan Morris for choosing to play in his hometown in Seattle as opposed to going to Werder Bremen. Lagerway said part of the reason he came to us instead of Werder Bremen back in 2016 was the promise that this would be a relationship and this would be something where he worked for our best interest and that we worked for his. So there really wasn't any hesitation on our part when he said that this was what he wanted to do. So they're doing right by their player that made the decision to come to them instead of going to Germany. That's the right way to do business. I think Morse has an opportunity to do well. Let's see if he gets time. Let's see if he jumps in. I think they play again on Wednesday. Is that correct?
Yep.
Playing right now, correct?
Yeah, they're playing in the FA Cup right now, yes.
Okay. They play again on Wednesday. That might be a little early, but maybe on the weekend. Roma just conceded a goal in a horrendous fashion. Chris Smalling with the whiff.
Oh.
And Spezia has leveled it at 3-3 late, right at the 90th minute. 3-3. A couple minutes.
17 goals have now been scored in the 5 matches in the Bundesliga so far this morning.
Bonkers. All kinds of goals. On the Miami front, Phil Neville, Chris Henderson were introduced to the media. David Beckham, Jorge Mas spoke to the media. It's really weird to watch Sky Sports talk about Phil Neville going to Miami and to read what American soccer writers are saying about Phil Neville coming to Miami. Sky Sports does have Gary Neville on the team, and of course that's his brother. Gary talked about how, and Roma just scored about a minute later, so now 92nd minute they are up 4-3. This game is drunk. Gary talked about how he could never be a manager. Phil is obsessed with the game and constantly studying and constantly working on sessions and lives it and breathes it and all that. Gary wants a break from it. That's why he didn't want to go back into management after his time at Valencia. Jamie Carragher also talked about, just that transition and how you've got to be completely, all in to be successful as a manager. He talked about it. I guess they had the conversation recently with Wayne Rooney making that transition as well. And both of them were positive on the work that Phil Neville did with the England women's national team. And I thought Phil Neville said something that jumped out to me because I've seen a lot of reporters here diminish him as he can't go to Miami and be successful because he was coaching women, which would feel like it would go against what a lot of people feel or say or put out there on social media. And I thought what Phil Neville said was exactly the right thing. He said the sessions that I did at Manchester United when he was David Moyes' assistant, and the sessions that I did at Valencia when he was an assistant, were no different than the sessions I did for my women's team last year. It's football played on the same pitch, with the same size balls, with a referee, with supporters in the stadium, and ultimately the same goal, and that's to win. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. The psychology can be different, sure. But the coaching, it's the same thing. Now, I always feel like I have to reiterate this. I was not a fan of the Jill Ellis conversation at DC because she hasn't worked or played in a club environment, ever. Phil Neville has coached in a club environment at 2 big clubs in Manchester United and Valencia. He's also coached a women's national team. It's not an everyday thing, but the coaching's the same. And he played in a club environment for his whole career, for a lot of great managers. He's got a different level of experience. They are not the same thing. And I've seen people try to make that equation like Jill Ellis won 2 World Cups, Phil Neville got to the semifinals. Why is Jill Ellis hired instead of Phil Neville? Like it's a whole different thing. Like to equate that is just really false equation. He might fail. He could absolutely go there and fail. He could go there and succeed. Nobody knows. But he's got more experience than Hernan Losada at DC. Way more experience than Hernan Losada. Mm-hmm. And everybody's really positive about that one. But not about this one. Might want to jump and look at some of the prejudices that are going into these takes on this. I don't know. I'm just saying. Beckham,
I think there's also a strong feel to see DC United succeed. There's a strong neutral feel to have DC United be. No. I mean, I think there is a pull among neutrals to have DC United return to being one of the powerhouse teams. And I think also, and we've talked about this before, I think there is whether people think about it or not, I think there is this nerve ending in the back of their head pulling, wanting to see Miami go up in flames.
Yeah. There's some of that, but then also that's where I'm confused is last year there was a lot of propping up of Miami with mistakes that they made and sweeping those under the rug. So it's like,
there's zero consistency to it.
Yeah. Can we pick one direction to go so we kind of know what's coming? I guess not. Who knows? Like I said, he could go in and fail and the personalities don't fit and it doesn't work because that's ultimately what's going to decide this. He knows how to coach. He's a good coach. He's done good things as a coach. That's not the problem. Can he go in and manage this group of players? Does he have the right players to succeed? Can he adjust to the challenges in Major League Soccer with travel, with climates, with all the different things that come into it? That's what's going to decide if he can be successful or not. That's what it will come down to. So we shall see. But I thought it was really wild to watch Carragher and his brother, Gary, of course it is his brother. He's probably going to be pretty kind to him. Talk about it versus like some of the hot takes on American soccer social media. Last night, the U.S. women defeated Colombia 6-0. It wasn't a contest like almost from the jump. Catarina Macario scored her first goal in her first start. Lynn Williams scored. Lindsey Horan scored. Mitch Purse scored her first for the U.S. Megan Rapinoe had 2 goals in the match, including a penalty. U.S. are unbeaten in 34. They haven't lost at home in 50. She Believes Cup will be fun to watch. That's going to be some more competition. That's what I'm looking forward to. Canada on February 18th.
There's parts of that team.
Go ahead.
There's parts of that team I still want to see them turn over and get younger, but, the midfield looks like it's just going to be stupid for a while. Again.
Yeah, I mean, you've got an Olympics this year. That is still the plan, by the way.
Do you have the Olympics?
No, that's the plan. I mean, people with rumors ran, and the Japanese government was like, no, we're still planning on doing this. It's not decided yet. What? So right now you're still planning on that. And if you are, then yeah, you're going to keep, Megan Rapinoe and Carly Lloyd and some of the veterans involved in it because that'll be their last competition, I would think. And you want to build for that.
Give the armband to Julie Ertz and let it go.
I'm all in on that. No, they gave it to Sauerbrunn, which I'm all in on as well.
That's a great. I'm fine with either one of those.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Becky Sauerbrunn will take a knife out and cut everybody.
She would. The She Believes Cup starts February 18th, U.S. and Canada. It's all in Orlando again. Brazil and Japan are also in this. The U.S. is the obvious favorite, I'd say Japan is probably the number 2, Brazil's 3, and Canada's 4. Canada shouldn't be 4, but they haven't. They feel like they've kind of lost their mojo a little bit. We'll see if they find it in this tournament. It'll be better competition. The U.S. is still, I think, a pretty clear favorite. Turner's asking about what pod Atlanta United will be in the CONCACAF draw. Did they do the actual that level of it? They announced that CONCACAF will start in April. I don't think they went to that level of the setup.
They haven't gone to that level yet.
Okay, so Turner, I don't know what the structure will be. They've pushed it back. They've stretched it out. The final will be in the fall. It's all good. We don't know when the season is going to start for MLS, so you could still be in a situation where it's hopefully very early in the season, not before the season starts. But we'll see. I like the format of it. I hope they kind of keep this format if they're going to do the tournament in this structure. Stretch it out and have the first couple rounds earlier in the year and have the others later in the year, but before you get into MLS playoffs. Do that. That's a better setup. The draw is February 10th. We don't know if the Canadian team will be decided. I think Turner had asked that question. I don't know when that game's going to be scheduled. They could do a placeholder if they have to. It's just welcome to 2021 at this point. My guess is they'll do a placeholder because I don't see them having that game knocked out before then. Copa Sudamericana final today, 3 o'clock. You can watch it on Fanatis. You can watch it on BN. Couple of things going into it. So it's Defensa y Justicia in their first ever continental final, and it's Lanús who won this tournament in 2013. Defensa's got 4 trophies in their history. They won the second division in 2014. They won it in 1997. They won a third division in 85. They won the fourth division in 82. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to Defensa y Justicia. Hernan Crespo might actually stay because Independiente didn't want to wait, and maybe he turned them down. He's building something pretty special there. Now, they've got a bunch of players on loan. One of them will probably be going back to Independiente at the end of the year, Brian Romero. 9 goals in 8 games. Crespo has converted him into a true number 9. He mostly played out wide. Really fun player to watch. That's just a fun team to watch. Lanús is a fun team to watch. Very attack-minded. They've got a couple guys to keep an eye on. De La Vega, their number 8, who will play mostly out wide. He's a big creator for that team. Teenager who has come into the team when Marcelino Moreno came to Atlanta. Nicholas Orsini is their leading scorer. He's got 6. He scored that critical stoppage time goal to push them through in Brazil against Sao Paulo, if you remember that earlier in the tournament. They've still got 40-year-old Jose Pepe Sand up top. He's got 4 goals in the tournament, and he had goals in the quarterfinal and the semifinal to get here. Lanús has already beaten 2 Argentine teams in the tournament. They beat Independiente in the quarterfinals. They beat Vélez in the semifinals. Defensa had an easier semifinal pathway. They got through Coquimbo Unido, and they took care of that in the second leg at home. What are the numbers on this one, John?
Okay, hang on just a second.
Oh, come on!
I know. Sorry, I was trying to look at the other things that folks have dropped on the Twitters. So, Lanús a plus 189, Defensa a plus 143, and your draws a plus 227 in the composite.
I mean, obviously, you know who I'm pulling for here.
I think it might take a while, but I think that Defensa gets it done.
Why do you think it's going to take a while?
I think
you're just picking something out to say, right?
No, I think that in a championship situation, I think that you're going to, if nothing happens in the first 20 minutes, I think that it turns into something very, very cagey, somewhat cautious, and I think it goes more than 90.
No. Throw what John just said, wad it up, throw it in the trash. These are 2 very exciting attacking teams. It's not going to be cagey. You will not hear the word cagey in English, Spanish, Portuguese, or any other language of anybody else who's covered.
Not
this
even
game
with the
around
title
the
on
world.
the line.
No, because that's not how they play. Defensa didn't play that way in stoppage time in Santos in the Libertadores group stage, where if they had, they might have stayed in the Libertadores. They didn't then. They're not going to do it now. Lanús doesn't play that way either. It's going to be open. Now, they might cancel each other out. It could be, 1-1 or it could be 2-2, but I don't think either team gets cagey. I don't see that at all. I think Defensa is the better team, but they've had moments where they've slipped up in these big moments. We talked about Santos. They had poor play in the Copa Diego Armando Maradona, but they were rotating and focusing on the CONMEBOL stuff. They've added some reinforcements, though. Gustavo Bo's brother is on loan from Boca. He is there, Walter Bo. He's at Defensa. You've got a couple of players with Defensa outside of the attackers that you need to look at. Enzo Fernandez, who's on loan from River. Teenage, number 6. He's legit. He is absolutely legit. And Hector David Martinez, center back, who was on loan from River. It became permanent, but I think River has retained an interest in him, some kind of share of the pass. He's a center back who would absolutely fit the MLS mold and probably be a really good price. Those are 2 players that are completely unheralded, out of Defensa that you need to pay attention to. I think Defensa gets it done, but I think it's like a 3-2 bonkers, make sure you've got the popcorn ready kind of match.
Let's see, a couple things on the Twitters to wrap up. Chris Hutchison, on this day in 1984, Hulk Hogan defeats the Iron Sheik to get his first WWF championship at Madison Square Garden. Okay. Nathan Pugh with a couple of things. He goes, what annoys and raises Jason's blood pressure higher?
Okay.
A Big Sam tactical masterclass.
That's pretty bad.
Or B, people calling MLS a retirement league.
Definitely the MLS one. Definitely the MLS one because, I want to, slap people with mittens covered in horrible things.
It's all fun and games till Big Sam takes over Vancouver.
That's not happening. Big Sam's not going to get out of the own country. He's not going to trust the gravy in Vancouver.
I was going to say, could you imagine Big Sam at a poutine menu?
Big Sam would like the poutine. He would.
Yeah, he would.
He would.
Go to Poutineville, he'd have a time of his life.
Yeah, he'd have to do a sponsorship with Poutineville.
Chris Hutchison also asks, FA Cup or Futurama? # Bender wins. Then Nathan with one last thing on Twitter. So it's official, NBCSN is going away. I'm already a subscriber, so I get Yellowstone, Premiership, Rugby, The Office, and EPL, so I'm not that bothered, but they better get some stuff improved on that Peacock, e.g. get it on Fire Stick.
Get it on Amazon. I don't know why they haven't figured that out yet. We talked about this like a month ago, and I guess everybody else missed it. NBCSN, I think there were some updates that NBC told providers that it looks like they're going to shutter NBCSN. I mean, when you're filling time with car auctions, that's usually a good sign. That they'll move stuff to USA
Still
Network.
Waiting for that Fox Sports / Stadium offering.
Yeah, there's that too. I think NBC will move stuff to USA Network, especially big Premier League games, unless they're trying to sell it on Peacock, which they will do too. NASCAR stuff will go to USA. NHL stuff will go to USA at different points. They'll sort that out. Well, no, not everything's going to go to USA because USA actually is an entertainment channel, John. What are the ratings for IndyCar?
Minimal at best. It'll go to
why
Peacock.
would they go to USA? That's what I'm saying. The other stuff is going to go to Peacock, and they're going to have to beef up Peacock. It's not good enough the way they're presenting it right now. They've got to have more studio content. They've got to actually have it make sense and look right. Don't have silence on slates of stuff.
Production elements have to be...
come on. You guys can do this, but actually do it. If you want us to pay for Peacock, please make it worth our while. Please. Por favor.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. That's supposed to be by the end of the year. I would assume they'd try for the next seasons to start that transition. So the seasons that'll start in the second half of 21, they'll start pushing stuff to USA and figuring it out. I don't know if they use any of the other channels in the NBC portfolio. Maybe, maybe not. Premier League being in the mornings a lot of times and in the early afternoons, they might have some more flexibility with that than they would with NHL or even NASCAR and stuff. So
you probably put more stuff on the mothership too in the afternoons if it doesn't compete with golf or anything like that.
But they already do that. That's nothing new. You're not putting more there because you only have one network. You know, like it's the same stuff that was already always there. It's USA that would be the new spot for some of that stuff in the afternoons. We'll see what they do. But yeah, you're going to see more stuff go to streaming. You're going to see stuff go to pay-per-view. Maybe, possibly at some point. I think they want to keep it on streaming because you can do so many different things with it. It's all going to start to look really different, and just, you know, we can keep complaining about it, but it's not going away. It's just the way the business is being run. So that's it, and that's it for us. A lot of games to watch the rest of the weekend. You got Liverpool and Manchester United in FA Cup tomorrow. Everybody's hoping that will be a more entertaining game than it was last time. I was actually interested in it last time. I didn't think it was as bad as people gave it credit for, but this is an FA Cup one. You will have a winner at the end of the day. We'll see who does that. Do you have numbers for that real quick, John?
FA Cup?
Liverpool, Manchester United. Tomorrow.
Yeah. Liverpool, Manchester United. Manchester United plus 163. They're looking at this as a draw. Liverpool plus 159. Your draw's a plus 260.
It's a cup.
Even stuff.
It's a cup competition. Somebody's got to win.
So it goes. They're saying that this is going to go.
Counts if it goes to penalties.
I know.
So.
They don't
longer
have
than 90 minutes is what they're looking at.
Okay, never mind. Liverpool still tries to find goals, and they can't find any, so they're out. That's my guess, anyway. Yep. I don't trust them.
You
Jared,
ever notice you never see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Andy Serkis in the same room at the same time?
No, I haven't. You're true in that.
No, he looks like Andy Serkis.
No, I know. I have not seen them together. Maybe if you pull the mask off, he is. You never know. Black helicopters and stuff, right?
Yes.
Totally.
Always.
Yes. All right, that'll do it. Thanks for listening to us for 4 years as we start year number 5. We're crazy, and you guys are too. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucha platio.
Love you guys. Mucha platio.
Mucha platio.